I realize that choosing to live in a place where the snow can accumulate up to 2 meters, or between 6 or 7 feet, seems a bit ambitious, and I'm the first to admit that what I love most about going back home to Los Angeles is the weather. So, what are we doing up here? Well, I can't answer that question actually, but I can tell you that staying warm is first on our list of priorities, especially since back in Nagoya, insulation was apparently considered to be something of a luxury. A couple of months ago, while sitting on our newly poured foundation, I mentioned some of the concerns we had about keeping the house warm. Now, as winter sets in and the snow piles up outside, this concern is coming to the forefront. And that's why this team of insulation professionals has come all the way from Nagano City, an hour's drive away, on a Saturday. Today is the day we spray the insulation. If, like me, your image of insulation is rolls of thick woolly fiberglass with R values stamped on the outside, you may not recognize this shaving cream-like substance that is being sprayed on the walls in our house. But this is polyurethane spray foam insulation, which is, I guess, industry standard these days. Urethane is a substance I have been aware of since my skateboarding days, when urethane wheels were the standard, and showing up with anything else could get you ostracized or at least ridiculed by your peers. I wonder if that's still true. But you can see why the word urethane already feels right, and what could be better than polyurethane? So, the house needs to be prepared before spraying can start. Bits of polyurethane are going to be flying everywhere and affixing themselves to anything they can, so the windows, doors, beams, and anything else that might be exposed must be covered. By the time we arrived at the house in the morning, the team had already prepared the second floor and spraying had begun, while the rest of the team prepared the first floor. The house was full of the toxic and unpleasant fumes of the spray foam. It works like this. 2 stinky chemicals are sprayed together, and when they mix, they create a foam that rises and fills up whatever space it's in. That creates a sound and heat barrier because the material is very non-conductive. The more space it is allowed to fill, the stronger the insulation and the higher the R value. We're shooting for about R13 in the walls, I think, which I suppose is standard in Japan, but still a bit under expectations in Montana, which has a similar climate in the US. So we'll see how that goes, I guess. The ceiling will get more, and since most of the energy is lost through the ceiling or the windows, I'm hoping the additional insulation in the ceiling will help. And that leads to an observation I have made about houses in Hakuba. Back when I was a child, we observed that the houses with snow on the roofs were the best builds because very little energy and heat was being lost. Here in Hakuba, by contrast, every house seems to have snow melting and falling off the roof in big chunks. In fact, every year someone in Japan dies from snow falling off their roof. I don't know, but it seems to me that keeping the roofs more insulated would decrease this problem, since the snow touching the roof would stay cold and fluffy and not tend to slide off in big chunks. If anyone has a thought about this, let me know in the chat. I'm probably way off base. Anyway, we didn't stay in the house very long, but I have to say that urethane insulation is absolutely the most chemical, synthetic, high-tech, and environmentally questionable thing we've done in the house so far. But I also know that there are so many factors that affect sustainability and your carbon footprint, and supposedly using this chemical insulation will help keep our footprint down in the long run. I hope that's true, and I hope we can stay warm in the meantime. And I also hope that those guys doing the work are not putting themselves in danger working with this sort of chemical long term. There is another benefit to the polyurethane insulation. It also creates a sound barrier, as I mentioned before. This is important in Japan, where bothering your neighbors is simply not a reasonable option. This is a little tough with a 7-year-old who likes drums and a dad who likes electric guitars. We've been pretty quiet up till now, but we're both reaching the ends of our silence ropes. Not that we want to disrupt the peace, but making a little noise in the house and knowing the neighbors won't be bothered is the best of both worlds. So I'm hoping that spray foam insulation will keep the cold out and the noise in. I will say this, the house is already a lot warmer and we don't even have a heater yet. Sooner or later, we're going to have to deal with that.